Hey guys, friendly pub player here. If you click this video, we both know you're here to pick up some tips towards winning your first match or matches in general. Have no fear, I'm sure these tips will help you do just that. First off, before we get started, this video is broken down into three main sections. First section, your overall tips, which apply to everything you do in pub, whether you're a solo player, duo player, or even squad player. These apply to you, they're your general tips if you would. Second, your first method of winning the game, the GasLining method, the most commonly used method and most effective in my opinion. And then finally, the third section, the second method of winning the game, which will grab a tent, some firewood, and some marshmallows because it's camp time. But before we get started, I'll throw out recommendations for gear that will not only help you greatly in this game, but almost every other game you play or will play in the future. First is your headsets. Headsets, and headsets. Games these days have so much detail put into them, and especially to the sound of yours and other players' footsteps. This is key because if you have the right tech, you'll be able to hear an opponent proning, scroll dragging, crawling, walking, running, and even driving, from buildings away all the way up to 100+ meters away. Players that manipulate this aspect of games are known as the sound whores of gaming. This is the biggest advantage given to all players from devs of any game. Even if it's just your iPod's headphones, it'll make a difference, I promise. Second, I personally recommend the Orb Weaver from Razer. It's like a mini keypad but not a keyboard. I was skeptical of it at first, but its price is up there depending on the model you go for, but in the end I can't imagine playing games competitively without it. It's designed to put all your hotkeys as close to your WASD as possible so you can press them with minimum effort. Not a necessity but highly recommended. Third, your gaming mouse. I've seen many players play with your standard Logitech $20 mouse or knuckle-sized mouses. If it works for you, more power to you, but I strongly recommend second to picking up headsets to get a gaming mouse. They respond more smooth and faster to your hand movements and have extra buttons right at your fingertips. Not to mention the macro ability, which makes it possible to do things like type a paragraph at one push of a button, or turn one mouse click into 10 mouse clicks every 0.02 seconds. If you get a gaming mouse or have one, I also recommend going the extra mile into getting a gaming mouse pad. Lastly, and this is just opinion based honestly, is your monitor. I rock a 21.9, and for games like Pub and Arma, this is perfect. It's key in Pub to always look around and observe your surroundings to stay alive and get the drop on your enemies, but with this screen, the need to do such things is minimized because the screen itself is wider, opening up your field of view. Finally, with all of that out of the way, let's get to the overall tip section of the video. First tip is your weapon loadouts. You can't hope to win any game without a good weapon loadout. That's why some of us loot endlessly after all. First loadout is an easy and versatile loadout, the double AR loadout. One with a red dot, a hollow, or a 2x scope, and another with an AR and a 4x scope or higher. Granted, you're going to most likely want your highest caliber as your highest scoped AR. Sometimes the M4 is better used as a sniper if fully tacked out because the recoil is much less and you can get more shots downrange. Second loadout is an AR and a sniper. Though the sniper can be replaced with an AR because you can get more shots downrange with an AR than you can with a sniper, I still recommend the ARs because unless you score a headshot, the sniper requires 2+ body shots to down someone. The damage output from the snipers just aren't enough yet to convince me to always go for them over the AR with the 4x the higher scope. The third loadout I always prefer is your AR and a Uzi. A versatile kit, you can use your AR to swap between a red dot and 4x scope or higher through your inventory when needed, and utilize your Uzi for building, rushing, or defending. The Uzi is my shotgun replacement because with the shotgun you get that one shot to down your opponent. With an Uzi you get 25 shots in the same time it takes to get that one shotgun shot off. Lastly, make sure you're picking up those frag grenades when you see them. Those bad boys can come in clutch in the right situation. I recommend a minimum of 2. The first one to help you adjust fire for the second. Also make sure you're cooking them for roughly 5 seconds before tossing them so your enemy doesn't have time to react. In the video you can see the perfect situation for a frag grenade that I just so happen to have. Alright, our next overall tip section is about shooting. First things first, if you had that gaming mouse I mentioned earlier, macro shooting. You can set up what's called a macro, which in simple terms, instead of having to click 15 times to shoot an entire mag of that P92 9mm pistol in, let's say, 5 seconds, you can do it by pushing a button once and shooting that same mag in less than 2 seconds. Sounds unfair, right? That's because it is. This can turn that early game pistol loot you always skip into the deadliest weapon for you to use to pry another weapon from the cold dead hands of an enemy. The next shooting tip is the hip fire. This isn't always the best idea, especially when you're engaging further targets, but in the right situation, third person shooting or hip firing can be all the advantage over another player. If you're new to the game, I encourage you to always shoot first person until you get a good feel for the game mechanics, but if not, third person shooting can give you an unfair edge. One, you can see around corners, you know to start shooting before you expose yourself, and two, it's much easier to manage recoil without your screen bouncing everywhere. Which leads into the next shooting tip, spacing off trees, walls, and windows. If you're too close to either of these, your character will force his weapon down because of physics. So make sure you're taking a few steps away from whichever surface to make sure you don't come around the corner shooting at the ground. Also, you can break windows with your fist before you take that shot. Right now in the game, players can't hear you breaking windows. Utilize this. The last shooting tip is to go prone. Now it speaks for itself. If you've ever shot a weapon system before, you know that prone is one of the most stable platforms you can achieve without outside assistance. That being said, it's true to this game as well. Go prone for those longer range targets. You'll have much less recoil and be able to throw more shots downrange with better accuracy. Make sure you're utilizing third person as well before you sight in on your shots. The third section of overall tips is looting tips. These are simple enough, but some players haven't figured it out yet. First tip is tab looting. Instead of pressing F multiple times to pick up that mound of loot in 5 seconds, you can press tab and start right clicking all the loot you wanted instead of grabbing everything, and in a fraction of the time. This becomes key when you've landed in a hot zone and have to rush a weapon before someone else. Also remember, if you landed next to someone and they're trying to punch you while you loot, go prone. It's almost impossible for them to punch you while you're looting this way. Next tip is just speed looting. This is always important, whether it's the beginning or the end of the game, which you shouldn't be looting in game anyways unless you got screwed early game, but this is still just as important. You should always be practicing and learning the layouts of different houses so you know where the loot spawns, where to look for it, and what buildings can quickly be looted. For example, the warehouse and garages are what's called run-through loots, meaning you can sprint through them or just run by them and see if it has anything you fancy. If you take too long looting, you miss key opportunities like that guy that ran up on you and is camping you and waiting on you to finish looting so he can kill you and take your groceries. Also be on the lookout for doors that are already open, because this means another player has been there and more than likely all the loot is gone. Don't waste your precious time. Keep in mind that all doors in this game are double hinged, meaning if a door is open outwards, it more than likely means that a player exited the house and vice versa. You should always aim to be done looting no later than 3 minutes until safe zone closes for the first time. The fourth section of overall tips is danger areas. A danger area is any location that presents a threat to you or a partner. The most common areas in pub are the open fields that we always end up having to cross. Obviously this means you're exposing yourself to whoever wants to take a picture of you from any direction, and you have no cover to protect your pretty little face for however long it takes you to cross the danger area. It's key to utilize terrain like this when you're camping or holding down a position. For example, make one of your flanks an open field so if anyone tries to assault you, they're left in the open, not you. Also, when the safe zone is closing, be sure to keep your eyes open towards the blue zone because players will be running in from the outside, and the last thing you want is to be shot in the bum by a bum. The next tip is to know your high traffic areas. From crate drops to military islands, some spots attract more players than others. Let's look at a few of them. Watertown, west of Razahawk, many camping spots here, and you can always count to take shots if you come here. Next is Georgia Pool, big city with multiple warehouses outside of it, and Connex boxes, and a hospital, which all spawn great loot and therefore attract more players. Next is the military island. From Novo, to the base itself, great loot spawns here, which in turn brings more players. Next is Razahawk School. This school is always a hot spot for some reason. Everybody wants to learn in this game, couldn't tell you why. And then next is the bunkers, to the east of Razahawk somewhere. I avoid these so much I can't even remember their exact location. They're underground military loot spots and are always highly populated. Finally is Pochinki or Pustinki, whatever you call it. Always decent traffic in the middle of this city, sometimes even higher traffic. If you're dropping here, I recommend to drop on the outskirts of Pochinki. The fifth section of overall tips is vehicles. Each vehicle has its own unique capabilities. The buggy is the best at climbing mountains. The Dacia is the second fastest. The bike is the fastest but most exposed and easiest to die on due to its mechanics. The Jeep is the balance between all vehicles. It's important to know that you cannot exit a vehicle that is moving too fast because you will take damage or even die. Also note that all vehicles will always spawn facing east. So if you see a vehicle and don't know if it's a natural spawn or player moved, check to see if it's facing east or not. Also utilize this to trick other players that know this mechanic. And remember that most vehicles spawn in garages or next to the road. Whenever you're going through the open fields, especially the wheat fields, make sure you're coasting through them, not holding down your turbo, because these fields are notorious for bugging out and making you flip and do many other wild things that will kill you. Also keep in mind that boosting doesn't make you go much faster, but does however burn your gas fast. Mainly use this to accelerate or climb mountains. Quick side note, holding space will make you tilt back for a backflip while on a bike, and holding control will make you tilt forward for a front flip. Don't try this with a passenger because you'll get both of you killed. Also with the buggy, whenever you go flying in one of these bad boys, hold the wheel to the left before landing. This will keep you from doing a fancy spin out over every little hill. Lastly, you can't take damage from crashing a bike. Utilize this to rush players, so crash a bike, hop off instantly, and sing them a lead song. You can use the same tactic for any other vehicle, but heed the warning that you will take damage from the crash. The last section of tips and overall tips is the movements. Movement is life. If you stay still, your chance of turning into a corpse is increased. Whether this means run from the bathroom to upstairs, running down a hill at an angle, or even zigzagging to dodge enemy fire, you should most definitely be doing it regardless. The trick is, if you're constantly moving, you're forcing your enemy to constantly think. Whoever has a lapse in judgment first loses the fight. Simple enough, right? Most times those players that are sniping you, if you know their location already and move intelligently towards them, even if under fire, and you make it in range, they'll shit the bed and leave themselves an easy treat for you to snag. What I mean by this, utilize cover, stop mid-run, and then start running again. Don't run straight. Trick him into thinking that you're running one way, then shift into another direction. Simple things like this. Don't forget to be utilizing windows and balconies as quick escapes and means of catching enemies off guard. Another instance is if you're in a building, taking some shots out of a window, jump out of the house on the other side and rush a guy from the ground. They'll be expecting you to be in that window still, giving you the advantage from the ground. Also, for you team players, use each other. It's a team effort anyways. Have a player open fire to gather up all the attention and send the other player far right or left to flank the enemy while they fire back. Take note that if the enemy already knows where you are, instead of firing, you can send somebody running in a direction and the other stand up and shoot. This is known as running the rabbit. It's an old Russian tactic. The last tip is parachuting. It's key to know how to do this since every game starts off with everyone parachuting. There are many simple tricks when it comes to your playtime in the air. The first one, if you can't tell which way the plane is headed by looking at the terrain below you, go third person and use the tail wing to go straight down to the back of the plane. Then pull up your map and it'll give you insight as to the direction of travel the plane is taking. Next is after you know where you want to jump, to help you get your timing for the jump, line up your desired location with the wings of the plane. This will make it so you only have to travel in one direction, and that's straight at your desired location. When free falling, you can keep tapping W almost like a swing motion to go further. You can also look straight up and have your character fall at a slower speed, also allowing you to fall further. For those of you trying to land as fast as possible, keep in mind the white bar in the bottom left when you're falling. Once you reach that white bar, the parachute will auto deploy, so feel free to reach the top speeds of 234. This speed can only be achieved by aiming straight down. If you reach 230 or higher speeds when falling, your parachute will deploy past the white bar in the bottom left, giving you less hang time in the air and getting you in touch with the ground the fastest. I personally prefer to mix up these two methods during the same drop. Same techniques apply to controlling your parachute though. Also, if you can touch a tree and not hit it, aka get caught in it, your parachute would disappear faster instead of having hang time right above the ground before it disappears. Or you can simply land on a roof and jump off onto the smaller buildings to touch the ground faster. Finally, we're going to move into the methods for winning that chicken dinner. The first method, and most common method, is called GasLining. What this method contains is just simply following the gas line and moving when the safe zone closes. Simple enough, right? Most times, if not done correctly, you either die to the blue zone or get shot trying to run into the next safe zone, which is okay, because I'm going to help you avoid both those outcomes. First things first, always watch the blue zone. What I mean by this, players are running triathlons trying to get their asses into the safe zone before the blue zone burns them alive. So just because the blue zone has reached its spot does not mean all players are within the safe zone just yet. So keep your eyes open to that blue zone for the first few moments after it finishes moving. And make sure you're utilizing some type of cover before you lick your own wounds from your run into the safe zone. Also, just because you see someone does not mean you have to kill them. Yes, this sounds like the little girl way of doing things, but it's the little girls that live in the end. Basically, unless that person is a direct threat to you, especially once the safe zone gets smaller, don't kill the asshole. Because all you're doing is letting everyone know your exact location. If the guy doesn't see you, let him move into another position and get killed, or he may even help you out and take out another person that's watching you. You should only move up to the safe zone when you absolutely must. What I mean is, just because you have 20 seconds until the blue zone closes, you still have 20 seconds to let someone else move, so that camper doesn't shoot you in the butt when you take off. But of course, if you're further away from the safe zone and 20 seconds isn't enough to make it, start running when you can. Take note that boosters are key in this method. If you get past halfway on your yellow to white bar for your boosters, you get a speed boost. Also, the slow healing helps counter the constant damage from the blue zone, but also keep in mind that with each the final section in GasLining is staying mobile. This speaks for itself and is very important to your gameplay in general, which is why we touched on it in the overall tips as well. It's especially important in GasLining because you must also keep your eyes open and have your next cover selected before you move. The more you move, the more you make your enemy inclined to stay put, giving you the advantage. You can run circles on them, having them scared wondering which direction you plan to tag them from, while you're laughing and trying to jump over some balcony on top of them. Keep your eyes on the blue zone wall when moving to the safe zone. You'd be surprised at how many people are making that same run as you for the safe zone. If you have time, you may be able to gun them down on your way to the safe zone. Like just stop running and take a couple shots, or just remember where they are so when you reach the safe zone you can take them out when they're healing up. Also, keep in mind that vehicles bring attention. They're loud, but they do move fast, so they may be necessary when you don't have time to run to the gas line or there are too many danger areas. But if you find yourself needing one, remember that when you drive into the safe zone, everyone in that immediate area knows where you are. So park behind cover or drive deeper into the safe zone. Take note that if you're not on foot and a vehicle drives by you or even stops near, that all eyes are in your direction, so move less and utilize your third person. Also keep in mind that it's easy to lose track of time while you're engaging an enemy. Always keep your eyes on that timer, because if the safe zone's closing and you don't have enough time to get there and you're mid-combat, you may take a couple shots and end up dying to the blue zone. Don't be the one to get caught this way. Lastly, the second method, an easy method, is camping. This may not be the most enjoyable way to play, but it's most definitely effective. It's as easy as it sounds though. It does take some time to figure out the best guess locations for where the safe zones is going to end. For the most part, after playing a few matches, you'll see safe zones closing in on the same general areas. It may not be the exact same safe zones as previous games, but it may still be close to the area. So by the second or third safe zone, you have a good idea where it's going to end and go straight to the best location to fend off players, or fall asleep, or stoke a fire, or make some marshmallows while they kill each other off. Keep in mind that the same for method 1 applies here. Once you reach the top tier of the match, killing everyone who passes you is not a necessity. It should only be done if they located you, because otherwise you're giving your spot away to everyone. You have no idea where they are because you camped the same spot. An important game mechanic that I forgot to mention in the shooting tip was, while you're aiming down sights in third person, you can hold shift and press Q or E to look over different shoulders. This is really important, as you'll see in this video of me applying all the tips that I just went over. Enjoy the video, and I hope you took something away from this. If not, I guess I let you down, right? But if you follow these tips, I'm sure you will be well on your way to getting that first winner chicken dinner screenshot to show off to everybody. Or if you don't have everybody to show it off to, you can put it on your Steam profile and be happy about that, yeah?
Yeah, isn't that red building in between those two white buildings?
Yeah, now they're around you. It was in that middle building to your left. You're exposed to that guy that killed me.
See,
He was on the top balcony of it.
he control you. He control you.
I can't see because your skulls.
Yeah, he control you. It disappears the skulls. The skulls disappear.
I.
Did it work?
Makes your HUD disappear. Yeah. It's called it makes the HUD disappear.
God knows I'm here.
He's rushing you.
There you go, Rock. It's all three of them right there. Oh, and he got my sniper.
Oh, they're all on the road.
Yeah.
You just run in there, rush him.
For your
Patience.
streamer mode though, you do that control U now. You see that? It's another one inside. Damn. There's two of them down. You down the other one with the grenade?
I don't play games, bro. I'm a fucking.
Get that other guy.
Guy behind you.
Oh. Two of them, right?
No ammo. One clip. That's it.
Yeah, well, we're not all blessed.
It's just the AK.
I just looted this guy's ammo.
Oh, headshot.
Wow, he thought he was dead. Bishop are dead.
Beautiful shooting. Oh, the other one's in the road. The other one's
Down,
in the road.
heal yourself. There he is, to the right. He's on the roadblock, rock to your. That dude's dead.
Knocked him down 3 times, or
Or he's got an aimbot.
That shit is hilarious. Somebody's rushing me.
killed all of them.
Oh my god, at this game.
Pretty sure it was 3 teams because the
Oh,
original.
shit.
Oh, there's a guy.
Micro Uzi.